welcome back to the Sad Fan, where we talk about the good, the bad, and everything that made you sad from the previous week. And Wes, your hair has gotten slightly longer, but no, I'm just kidding. Obviously, we've got Josh back with us because Wes is out sick with the pink eye. Josh, how do you get pink eye?
You get it from eating ass.
Way too much. And I saw him, and I just gotta say, Wes, we hope you get better. But I mean, that look is the stuff of horrors. It is the stuff of nightmares.
Yeah.
When I saw Wes on the chat, he tried to do this show yesterday for everyone, and he just came on, and he looked like he had died, come back, and then starred in Evil Dead 7. It was bad. So Wes, I wish you well with your flu and pink eye.
Yeah, stop letting your lady fart in your pillow, dog.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot to take in, so it means it's a lot to deal with for you. Now, I know he feels bad because he's literally been waiting to talk about this moment all year long. All year long, Wes has been waiting to talk about the college football playoff, and we're going to get to that. But if I said the name Bill Belichick to you, Josh, what would you say?
Cheater, piece of crap.
Cheater, piece of spy.
Don't know how to wear a suit. Don't know what sleeves are.
Deflategate, Spygate, but also I think we think champion for all time, right?
Sure, if you want to, yeah. If you want to get by the buck.
So 6 Super Bowl champions. Don't you think that buys you some equity in today's NFL or any job, right? If someone says, "Hey, you know what?" Go ahead.
I got a problem with coaching and with the establishment in general. I don't understand how. Let's just for instance, Dungy took the Colts a couple times, didn't he? At least a couple times. Oh no, they lost the championship, or they lost this, they lost that. Dungy took a team that was garbage.
They did have Peyton Manning.
Excuse me.
They did have Peyton Manning.
I'm just saying. He got fired after they went to the championship. I don't understand how that works. I'm sorry you didn't get a ring. I don't get how it works when a coach takes them to the thing and they get fired. I don't get it. Tell me about that.
So you're here like, yo, you weren't the best in the world, but you were second best in the world. Should you really fire somebody for being the second best at something in the world?
If you're top 10% coaches, you shouldn't be fired. I don't understand how that works.
I think it's sometimes a new voice. You're hoping a new voice gets new results in the room. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, like, we made it all the way through the playoffs. So I'm sorry we didn't get a ring. I don't understand. Like, keep paying me. I'll get you a ring next time.
It could also be conflicts in the workplace. Like, you don't know who's going to management behind the coach's back and what they're saying. And sometimes management's going to side with the people that are making more money. It's hard sometimes to control a locker room of men that make more than you do.
Ooh, that's interesting. Okay.
So it's an interesting dynamic, I think. But you're right. But I also think in the vein of what you're talking about, Josh, you keep saying, like, if you're in the top 10% of what you do. Well, Belichick in his 20 years was not only top 10%.
No. He
was, always top 10% except for his final year in New England, where he had a terrible season, but always top 10%. And in fact, he was the best ever
on the books.
But 6 times. The best to ever do it. 6 times over that 20 years.
Redefined dynasty, right?
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, do you know how many other coaches have won 6 Super Bowls?
Not Dick Vermeil, one of the greatest of all time. I don't know.
No one else. He's the only one. He's the only one ever.
Mr. No Sleeves.
Yeah, and he's about 3 years away from being the winningest coach of all time in the NFL. And he can't get a job. No one wants to hire him. And Wes lost his mind because the Atlanta Falcons hired Raheem Morris instead of Bill Belichick. And why? I equated it to maybe he just doesn't have that reach anymore. Maybe players aren't responding to that tough-nosed, tough guy style of coaching anymore.
It's a new game.
So you've got to develop and you've got to meet the players where they're at, and perhaps he can't do it. So if you're not able to relate to players in the NFL, you know what the ideal move is, I think?
Go to NBA. No?
Go to a younger demographic.
Ah.
Go to the perhaps 18-year-olds. If you're not able to reach 22 to 36-year-old men, go to 18-year-old men, because everyone knows what they can't wait in today's society to listen to is a 65 to 70-year-old man, right?
Listen up, you little shits.
So I find it fascinating. And what do you think? What are the best college football? So you're not the biggest football fan ever. You watch passively. But what do you think the biggest programs in the world are as far as college football is concerned?
I mean, anything in Texas, that's obvious, right? Nebraska, the N stands for knowledge. That's a given. Oregon doesn't play, right? Tell me more.
Oregon's been good. Yeah, Oregon's been good since Phil Knight decided he wanted a football team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they've been good for a while. But then, of course, you've got your Ohio States of the world, right? Your Alabamas, your Georgias, your Floridas, your LSUs, Louisiana.
Where the big boys go?
USC. I'm probably going to leave some off, and I'm going to get hit up here about how I left someone off. Bill Belichick's obviously going to those teams, right? Like, obviously, he's got to be going to one of those big teams.
If he's going to go to the college, he wants to go to a big team. But
no, he's going to North Carolina Tar Heels is where it's looking like he's going.
Tar Heels. So that's, would you call that like a B- team? I don't know.
So they're better than people think. That's the thing. They are a better football team than people think. They're not great. Yeah, B- is a fine grade, I guess. If we're going to take all the schools, put tier 1, tier 2, they're probably a tier 2 school as far as popularity and talent is concerned. They're a basketball school. They're a basketball school.
Oh, yeah, Tar Heels. Yeah, they're known for that.
Yeah, it's where Michael Jordan went. They had Roy Williams and won multiple national championships for the NCAA. It's where many of our great players come from. It's one of our great rivalries, right? Duke, North Carolina. And I'm just sitting here like, man, you're telling me the world has really become, what have you done for me lately? Not what is your experience, not what do you bring to the table. It's, hey, can you talk to this kid and make him do stuff? Like that's what management is becoming, and it's really weird. Or do you make enough to exist here?
That's like, interesting, yeah. And that bleeds into all of reality. And here in America, at least, I don't want to get all geopolitical and all that bull crap, but you're right. Go on.
Yeah, no, it's America. I think it's all over the world, though. I think it's a generational thing, and it's crazy because people hit you with the, well, you don't understand. I'm like, well, hold on. I had to think about it because I was like, I'm not that far removed from this. I'm only 36, and I'm sitting here thinking about when people, well, you just don't understand anymore, or things have changed, or this, and I'm like, okay, no, hold on.
I joke more. Oh, they're on TikTok more. We know what jumping jacks are. We know what sprints mean.
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't think that that's the case. I think it's just you're not a likable person.
Yeah.
Typically, that's ends up what is the case. So anyway, you said that's the case here in America. You don't want to get too political. I think in the pre-production meeting, you said some funny stuff about your dinner tonight. How did that go? Were you able to get to dinner tonight?
No, I was not able to get to dinner tonight. I'm not sure what your point is here. I had to rush home.
Where did you stop for dinner?
Oh, at the Taco Bell. It's pronounced Taco Bell.
And was there a line?
'Twas.
And you just pulled out. You're like, I'm never gonna make it on time. I gotta get out of this line.
I gotta get home to record for the fans, sad ones. Yeah, you got 3 minutes to get home. I got you for 3 minutes. Sorry.
So do you think Bill Belichick is doing that? Is Bill Belichick Josh in the Taco Bell line? Look, man, I'm 65. I think he's 65. I think that's right. He might be 70. He might be 70 years old. I got to skip this line. I got to get on a team right now. Let's get this over with. Or I got to at least start drumming up interest from these NFL teams. Because right now I am not in the front of the line, and my Super Bowls have not allowed me to cut the line. So I got to get somewhere.
So he can't find a job, and he landed Tar Heels? Is that what you're saying to me?
I think he's trying to pull out and maybe go to the Arby's, and the Arby's by his house is open.
Yeah.
And I think that might be what North Carolina is. North Carolina is not your Taco Bell, it's not your McDonald's.
Well, I
It
mean,
might be your Arby's.
a few million per year versus 56 million or whatever he was making before. A few million is good as long as it's coming in, I suppose. I don't know.
Perhaps
As
the
long as he's not
feeling
going
of control.
Stanford.
Hey, Jim Harbaugh made Stanford real good. So Jim Harbaugh made Stanford really good. So I don't know if I'm going to knock Stanford, but let's get into this though. Yeah, so let's get more into college football. Anyway, I'm sorry your Arby's wasn't open, Josh. I thought this was America.
It's
I thought
okay.
this was America.
I wanted the beef, but I couldn't get it.
Did you knock on the door and you're like,
I'm sorry to jump on the rails of whatever you had on your agenda. But we got a guy like Belichick who is a great coach. Whether he cheats or not, he's good, right? Objective. Yeah. That's plain. So, how do you feel? Because I've been watching Ted Lasso, the guy who jumps over the pond, and he's like, "Oh, I was doing football, now I'm doing football." You know what I'm saying?
Jumps over the pond.
What's the success rate for? Excuse me. What is the success rate for a guy named Belichick who jumps into, let's say, curling? He goes to Canada to curl.
Yeah.
How does that? What's the translation for a coach doctorate level focus on one sport, go to another sport? What do you say?
You've never seen it. It's made up. Now you do see it in upper management. You've seen it in some. Well, not like not the GM and
sure.
GM executive types, but like just below them. Essentially, you sometimes see them move from sport to sport for different opportunities, for different chances. You saw. So have you ever seen the movie Moneyball?
Yes, sir.
So you know Paul DePodesta from the A's, one of the architects of Moneyball that worked with Billy Beane, Jonah Hill's character.
Yeah, big bun. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jonah Hill's character, he actually went from the A's, I believe, to the Cleveland Browns, and I believe he's still there. I believe he's running the analytics department for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
So sometimes you see that.
The Browns have been not succeeding, but like
they've been
the Browns
really bad,
aren't brown
really
anmore like they used to be.
They're really bad.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was
they're really bad.
The Browns are brown. Yeah.
They're not good. So that's it. To answer your question, that's essentially where you see. You never see it in a coach.
So it doesn't translate. Just because you're good at giving a good speech doesn't mean you know. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like once upon a time, it could happen. I'm not saying it couldn't. I'm not saying Ted Lasso couldn't happen in real life. I mean, once upon a time, I thought that somebody that was primarily a television star, filed for bankruptcy 7 times, couldn't be president. But that happened twice.
Twice. 2 times.
So I'm not gonna say it can't happen. Also, I'm not gonna say it can't happen because into our next topic, I always hoped that a college football playoff would happen, and here it is. It's upon us, and there is a lot of people mad. And one of the funniest things is, man, people in leadership that, God, not even in leadership, the human mind will never cease to amaze me. Typically, the person that's the quickest to say someone's disrespectful is a disrespectful person. Like more often than not, the person that calls out disrespect is disrespectful themselves.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and again, I don't mean to harp on this, but I think we've seen it as high as the president. Anyway, the people that are very fast to say I'm being disrespected are typically the ones disrespecting others, and then somebody said something back, and they're like, "Oh, you said something back? You're disrespectful."
Well, squeaky wheel,
Yeah, it's funny, and no one ever asks, why don't the other 3 wheels ever need grease? Why do those work perfectly? Anyway, when I'm talking about this, it's because the head of Alabama, I believe their athletic director, said something stupid. He goes, well, I guess we're just going to have to start scheduling tougher or less tough out-of-conference games. I believe he referred to them as cupcakes. Okay?
What does that mean?
We're going to have to schedule more cupcakes. It means nothing, and here's why. One, I think he played Mercer out of schedule. I think the toughest team he played out of schedule was Wisconsin, who was bad this year. They were a bad football team this year. And also, Josh, do you know how many of those games they lost?
No, of course not. I'm just
None.
I'm flabbergasted by how is Wisconsin bad at football?
Yeah, they were bad this year. Their quarterback got hurt in the second week of the season, actually in the game against
So
Alabama.
what? I'm thinking
Yeah,
like Wisconsin, like all y'all do is like get big and drink. Like you don't even
that's like
need a
you big old
quarterback.
corn-fed boys on the line.
Yeah. Anyway,
But yeah, so that was the toughest team they played, and they didn't lose to a single out-of-conference opponent. You know where all three of their losses came?
tell me.
The SEC, their conference. So to complain with something like that, and we have the proof that you're full of it, and
Yeah.
we're like, hold on, it wasn't your out of conference that killed you. It was actually your conference beat you. And
Yeah.
did he lose to any tough teams? No, he lost to Vanderbilt. He lost to Oklahoma, who was an awful team.
Hey.
So Alabama,
I'll tell
they
you
were bad
something.
this year.
Yeah, they were.
They were both Oklahomas were bad this year.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. Oklahoma was a bad football state this year. They did not get it done. So that brings, and then Miami, I think, has an argument, but Miami also lost towards the end of the season. Like if they had just beat Syracuse, they're in the playoff. And I'd rather see them because they have who I would consider to be a Heisman candidate quarterback in Cam Ward. Probably the best quarterback in college football this year.
You get a little bit of zip zap.
He does, and that's not just on the ball. He's got it with his legs too. But I would have rather see him. And that's not what we got. We got Clemson. We got old Jesus Dabo. He's playing against Texas, so I'm not excited about that game. Okay? I think Texas should beat Georgia. Texas needs to stop losing to Georgia if they want to be taken seriously, because they also didn't play a tough schedule. So much for that SEC, we play a tougher schedule thing. Then you've got Ohio State against Tennessee, which I think is the toughest game. I think that's the sexiest game of the first round. But you know what that does, Josh?
I don't know.
That really screws over the number one seed Oregon, because the number one seed Oregon plays the winner of Tennessee Ohio State, which is probably the matchup of the two best teams in this college football playoff. Now, some will argue Texas, but I think that remains to be seen, as they've lost to Georgia 2 times now. They had their chance to make up, to redeem themselves, and they didn't do it. They were unable to redeem the loss to Georgia. So I don't know if I can consider them the best team in this bracket. So I don't think that's fair to the number one seed, but that's kind of how it works. I'm not sure what the committee was thinking as it pertains to seeding. It's kind of like they just put all the teams in a hat, and they drew out of a hat and said, well, this team's going to play this team now. Well, this team's going to play this team now. Kind of like you decide who go first in beer pong.
But I also say, as you're talking, and of course we've mentioned 1,000 times already how I don't really have any context, but someone complaining about, oh, our teams are tougher. That's what a psychopath would say to good breakfast. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so happy that we had the toughest teams. We're going to murder them.
So wait, how does that relate to breakfast?
We're gonna eat them.
Okay, gotcha. Because you're gonna eat your breakfast. I was lost on the metaphor you went with. It's like, hold on.
It's like half chickens and half I'm really hungry right now. I don't know. I was just saying, like, if someone's like, "Oh, we have the toughest division," like, this enough. If you're complaining about your division, then you're already a loser. You're a piece of crap. Get to work.
If you're wrong on top of it, like, it's like, hey, our division's the toughest. We're just gonna schedule softer out of conference, and us going, hold on, your out of conference isn't the reason why you're not here. That means nothing. What you just said. It just shows how out of touch with reality you actually are. But Wes isn't the only one on the team here at TheSadFan from Oregon, or that's lived in Oregon for some time. You lived in Oregon for some time. How big are the Ducks out in Oregon?
Them Ducks. The Ducks are big time, dude. I wouldn't say that. You know, I've been to Seattle and Portland. I would say Seattle's got it going. But Seattle is Seahawks and Portland is Ducks, right? So it's not the same. It's NFL
Okay.
versus college. But the influence of the Ducks is all over Portland, beyond the sport. It's like it's everywhere. And we're ducking, dude. Duck
I
you.
think
You know what I mean?
I think that Oregon, one, they're such an appealing university. I think they really are going to be the university of the future as far as students are concerned.
They have
Because
been. Yeah.
Nike has turned that school into a fashion show. Like they always have the coolest uniforms. They always have the latest technology. Their weight room is straight out of what's the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie with the lady with three boobs?
Running Man,
Uh,
Total Recall, the
Total
collateral
Recall, right?
damage. Oh,
The gym's right out of the future in Mars, right?
yeah.
Like their gym is crazy, and
The
I
gym is
remember,
nuts. They
yeah,
have sushi on call.
I remember in 2008 seeing like some of the updates to the Oregon facility, and it was with Michael James, and he goes into the medical facility, and they're like, "Well, what do you? All the windows are clear. Aren't you worried about like people staring at you while you're getting your work done?" And he touches the glass, and the glass fogs up, and that was the first time I'd ever seen that. I'd never seen
Whoa.
anything like that, but I know it exists now in like fancy hotels and shit. But like
Sure.
in 2008, I had never
Yeah.
seen anything like that, and I was like, man, I was only like, gosh, okay, so 20 years old. I
Yeah.
was like, Jesus, if I had seen that as a college
Truly.
kid, I would
Yeah.
be like, I've got to go here. I've
Holy
got
crap.
to go here.
That's that's the story of Oregon in general. Like that whole campus is nutso, dude. The money that goes into it, the whole city is funded by Nike, which is funded
Yeah.
by blah 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 blah. That's why they had the best uniforms in all of sports,
Yeah, people love
perhaps.
them.
Pound for
And
pound, they have so many uniforms that are so dope.
yeah.
And I had a buddy that worked on campus, and he worked in the sushi shop
Yeah.
of among all the other shops in the mall of the campus. They got sushi on call 24/7, dog. There's a man with a knife ready to slice your sashimi.
You're really fixated on this sushi. It's like, like it's weird how we came from how
I'm
dope
so
you
hungry.
You started at sushi. We got to uniforms, how
I'm
the Ducks
sorry.
are in Oregon, somehow
I'm sorry.
inexplicably into Seattle Seahawks, and then somehow it circled all the way back to they have sushi
Oh.
on demand.
I'm sorry. I had one bowl of soup in the past 24 hours.
You're like, I don't know if you understand. Fry, are you listening? Sushi when you want it. So that brings us to the two games where I think we could have an upset. Okay, here this playoff, we
Oh,
got SMU, who put up a fight. I mean, first time in the ACC. So
first time.
I think
Oh,
that
because we had the
yeah,
switch up, right?
we had the conference realignment. So they play Penn State, and people that have been listening to our show for a while know my feelings on James Franklin and Penn State. And you know what, James Franklin, I owe you a half an apology.
Oh,
You put up a fight against Oregon in the Big Ten championship, and I am sorry. I said I didn't see any way you could, but somehow you let Drew Aller loose. Say that 5 times fast. And you put up a fight against Oregon. You put up a fight against Oregon. At the end of the day, Oregon came out on top, and they are the number one seed. But Penn State looked good, but I still think SMU can upset them. Do you know what SMU is famous for?
pooping. I don't know.
No, they got the death penalty in college, right?
What?
Which seems redundant. What that means is SMU got caught paying their players
Oh,
when they had the Pony Express there. Yeah, they got caught paying their players, and they got all their scholarships taken away. They got their football program like boiled down to nothing. Okay, there's a cool documentary on it called The Pony Express.
and every
And
college in the world said, "Thank God it was them and not us."
yeah, 100%. You nailed it. Absolutely. And then you look around the landscape of today with players making millions and millions of dollars. Like when NIL first started, the highest paid athlete in the country was a female gymnast named Livy Doon.
Good job.
She was the highest paid athlete in all of college sports, okay? So now you look around the landscape, and SMU's got to be saying, "Hey, can we have extra scholarships? Because you kind of screwed us when this was all going to be legal and the writing was on the wall. Like we all knew, we were just the first ones that, and it's like, you weren't the first ones to do it. You're just the first ones to get caught this bad."
Yeah, I've met a guy who got paid $10,000 to mop a closet.
There you go. There you go. That, I mean, can I get paid? Can I meet the person that hired him?
Well,
Anyway,
he was a lineman. That's all. I mean,
gotcha. And that's how they
CSU.
justified it.
Yeah.
They said it was a
Would you please
part-time
mop
job.
this closet? Here's some cash.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we also have Indiana, Notre Dame, and Indiana, I think, has an opportunity here to upset Notre Dame, another basketball school that is putting their name on the map for football.
Yep.
Yeah. So you're on our show, Popcorn and Beers, Josh.
Correct. I
Check
do
us
movies.
out. Yeah, check us out. We got some good stuff. Law-abiding citizen, Craven the Hunter this week. But what is Indiana famous for, Josh? It's not just basketball.
Indiana? Lincoln?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They have a movie that's considered one of the best sports movies of all time.
Oh, you talking about Samwise Gamgee? You talking about Notre Dame? You talking about
Hoosiers? No, we're talking about Hoosiers. You're about to do Rudy.
Oh, I was trying to. Shit.
You're about to do the other one. You were about to do Notre Dame's famous movie. So we've got the Hoosiers versus the Rudies. Okay. And I think this is going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be one of the more fun games. I don't think it's the best game, but I'd rather not watch that second to Tennessee, Ohio State. And they're rewarded for this game by playing Georgia. Now, this is not the playoffs I think we all want. And it is kind of a popularity contest. We've got teams like Arizona State and Boise State getting bye weeks, which is wild. I didn't see that in a million years happening. We've got the most popular players in college football not participating. Do you think this is going to be a recipe for success simply because it's football? Or do you think it's a recipe for disaster and people are going to be still up in arms even after the game saying, hey, we should have seen the best players?
Why are we getting time off in college? I don't get it.
What do you mean?
Oh, because it's finals, you get a bye week? I don't get it.
No, I think you could get a bye week because it's football and it's hard
No.
and it hurts your body.
Get to work.
You better get out there. So anyway, we have more on the college football playoff coming next week. Of course, we will dig into it, but we've also got the NFL. I don't have a lot to talk about, but Josh, what if I told you that a quarterback has now passed multiple running backs for most rushing touchdowns?
A quarterback has passed multiple running backs for most touchdowns. It sounds
most
like a
rushing touchdowns.
It sounds like a tongue twister. I don't understand what you're talking about. Who's doing these things? And explain why and how.
Because you grew up in the days of, Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, Dan Marino, Joe Montana, just stepping back there and slanging that ball. Terry Bradshaw.
Yeah, Kurt Manning. Yeah, throw it 30 yards and go. Yeah. So what are you saying? Like screens?
So Josh Allen, no, rushing touchdowns, Josh. running the ball. So Josh Allen has 62 rushing touchdowns, and I'm just going to give you one notable name that puts him ahead of. O.J. Simpson. Josh Allen has more rushing touchdowns than O.J. Simpson has.
Wow. O.J.
Yeah.
O.J. Sans knife is a terror. O.J. with knife. Definite terror. But Sans knife, yeah. So wow, that's an insane stat.
It's crazy, and he's basically a galloping horse with a rocket arm that you could count on, and it's crazy because
scramble fever, huh?
Yeah, he is. Josh Allen is great, and they lost to the Rams this week in a game that was so exciting, 44-42. Touchdown here, touchdown there.
In the NFL?
Yes, and some of the most insane catches you've ever seen.
44-42.
Yeah, and it wasn't even a primetime game. It was an afternoon game.
Holy shit. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Holy poop.
So as it pertains to the NFL, I didn't want to leave today without mentioning that. 49ers obviously looked fantastic. Seahawks took the lead in their division, but I just wanted to take them. Yes, the Chiefs cheated again, and it's fine. These things are
Cheated.
going to happen. They're famous right now. The famous memes for the Chiefs are with like the referee photoshopped into their huddle.
Oh.
Yeah. They always tend to get the call right at the end of the game somehow. Just like, you know what, Josh, you responded to the call right at the last minute and you showed up, and I appreciate you. You brought the fun to the Sad Fan. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate all the fans for tuning in each and every week. Stay tuned next week. We are going to break down all the games from the first ever college football playoff 12 team